Anyone who associates themselves with Donald Trump will ultimately be thrown under the bus. There are no relationships with this guy that end well, and Pam Bondi is just now realizing that because a leaked report about this Epstein scandal is now exposing the lengths to which Donald Trump is willing to go to escape what is bringing down his presidency. And it doesn't look good for Pam Bondi. We're going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into this report on Trump and Bondi, I want to start with someone who so perfectly called out our terrible Attorney General, and that was Jasmine Crockett right here, with some very important context.
There's a lot that I would ask Pam Bondi, but I do want to go back to the first part about the president now seemingly flipping his position. I do want the American people to recognize that this is nothing more than a game by the con man, again, because he knows, like most others, I'm sure his attorneys have informed him, that the release of grand jury documentation, as it's already been laid out, this is a secret process. It is a lot more difficult to actually get that released. So he gets to play both sides of it. He gets to then blame the courts if the courts then ultimately do what courts are supposed to do, which is to kind of follow the law. So he wants to say, listen, I tried, but it's the judges that wouldn't let me, and then kind of distract. So I don't believe that he actually has any intention whatsoever of being transparent and actually providing those documents, because he could instruct them to release information that was not necessarily a part of the grand jury process, but he did not do that. So I think that that's the real game here, is it allows him to absolve himself of trying to help out, when I know that the real shtick here is that he knows, or he's at least been informed, that that actually may be a really high bar to meet, and that's what he wanted to do.
What are your Republican colleagues telling you, whether it's OTR or even just flat out discussing this? And do you think there will be a vote next week whether or not to require these grand jury documents to be released?
I absolutely think that they are going to run away with this as quickly as possible. We saw a number of Republicans that just skipped a previous vote this week. So I don't anticipate that we will get to any resolution on this. I think that they want to, again, straddle the fence. They want to show that they are loyal to this, I don't even know what to call him. I've called him so many things. But this wannabe Hitler, for sure. They want to pledge their loyalty to him, and they know that he does not want this released. I think that they also are concerned about the damage that it may do. If he's trying to hide it, they understand that it is most likely problematic for him, as well as the MAGA brand, as well as the Republicans. So I don't anticipate that they will be on board for doing anything that may harm them or their fearless leader.
House Democrats have been relentlessly calling to bring in Pam Bondi and have her testify under oath about what she knows. And what is important to note there in the context of Trump trying to escape this scandal is that MAGA has largely put a lot of the blame on Pam Bondi. They are calling her out because, of course, in their mind, Donald Trump is the God King that can do no wrong. So if there's a problem, it must be the fault of Pam Bondi. Now, Pam Bondi doesn't want to go before Congress. She'd be ripped to shreds. She'd probably lie. She may trip over her words and humiliate Donald Trump. But it looks like that might actually end up being the case of what happens. Of course, it would be disastrous with Trump, but clearly in this post, we're seeing that he's inching towards that possibility. I have asked the Justice Department to release all grand jury testimony with respect to Jeffrey Epstein, subject only to court approval. With that being said, and even if the court gave its full and unwavering approval, nothing will be good enough for the troublemakers and radical left lunatics making this request. It will always be more. MAGA. So Donald Trump is now trying to position the narrative that no matter what he does, nothing will be enough for the crowd of troublemakers. I think that's his own supporters. But he's also said that he's completely given control over to the DOJ. It's in the DOJ's hands now, according to Donald Trump. And more than just one way, because a leaked report out of the White House is detailing who Donald Trump thinks should be taking the blame for his scandal, and it's exactly who you'd expect. Trump wants Pam Bondi to take the heat over Epstein crisis report. The president doesn't want to be on the hook for the outrage over his administration's handling of the Epstein files. Donald Trump is tired of defending Attorney General Pam Bondi and wants her to take the flak for the administration's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files. One thing that's been clear is his feelings about it. An unnamed source within the White House leaked to NBC News. This now resides within the DOJ. Trump has faced MAGA rage since his administration earlier this month shut down its investigation into Epstein, announcing that there was no client list or that Jeffrey was murdered. In February, Bondi hyped up a release of the files related to Epstein, handing out large binders to a group of MAGA influencers, but curiosity turned to anger when the binders contained no new revelations. While insiders said that Bondi is not yet at risk of losing her job over the crisis, they made it clear that Trump is no longer interested in protecting her from blowback related to her handling of the situation. The Justice Department did not immediately respond to the Daily Beast's request for comment. While Trump may be eager to let Bondi soak up the backlash, The Atlantic reported Friday that he has shot down every idea his team has offered for addressing the Epstein situation, including appointing a special counsel, asking courts to unseal documents on Epstein, and having Bondi host a press conference. Instead, even as the situation refused to cool down, the president stuck to his initial course of action. Do nothing. He's being tested and he doesn't like it, an official told the magazine. He doesn't want to talk about it. That changed when Trump learned the Wall Street Journal, of course, was working on a big story about the situation, with The Atlantic reporting that Trump, believing he could kill it, slammed his supporters for caring about the Epstein crisis and called it a Democratic hoax. So Donald Trump is completely abandoning Pam Bondi, throwing her to the wolves, throwing her under the bus, saying, I'm done with this. This is all on you now. And that's such classic Trump. And I won't be surprised if MAGA gets behind Pam Bondi, and by get behind, I mean gets behind with torches and pitchforks, ready to make her the whole face of this thing. But it is important to remember Pam Bondi is just a stooge for Donald Trump. Pam Bondi does exactly what Donald Trump wants her to do. Pam Bondi admits that she just does whatever Donald Trump wants. This is not someone acting with any independence. And it's funny because Donald Trump ran a presidential campaign exclusively on the idea that the Justice Department had been weaponized against him, that Joe Biden was the one acting using Merrick Garland as just an extension of his administration. But that's actually the case for Trump and Bondi. It's the reason that after the possibility of a special prosecutor came up, Donald Trump had Pam Bondi immediately push back on that after he flipped on the idea, realizing it would only cause him harm. But we're seeing all over the place in this administration and across the country, we're seeing just the abuse of the Justice Department on political opponents, on the rule of law. It's taking place all over. And Jasmine Crockett continued to call that out when speaking about some abuse of our election laws happening in her home state of Texas.
Because they were pushing these draconian voting laws because they knew that they had an opening with the evisceration of a lot of our protections under the Voting Rights Act in the Shelby v. Holder case. They are doing the same thing. We know that they gerrymandered in this last legislative session when we actually did go through the maps. In fact, I've been engaged in litigation ever since those new maps were drawn because we know that they diluted the voices of people of color. And that's basically what they're going to do. They're going to do it again. Texas is a majority-minority state, and they don't feel comfortable having to go and present their very much racist policies, the policies that people like the Proud Boys are excited about, the people like the Oath Keepers, people like, we saw on January 6th, those guys. So that's what they're going to do. They are going to minimize people of color's voices, and they truly believe that by pushing their white supremacy agenda, they will be able to then secure more Republican seats. I've got news for them. I believe in the people of Texas, and I believe that this may backfire in a really unprecedented way. In fact, I will tell you confidently that there are absolutely Republicans that currently are serving that are concerned as well, and they should be concerned that this may backfire on them as they try to create these seats, because there will be new vulnerabilities. And I promise you, I am going to do everything that I can to make sure that Texans know what is at stake and understand that they are trying to basically put their voices on mute, and it is time to raise the volume on their voices. And so we will work and outwork this gerrymander to make sure that Texas actually shows up and shows out, and Donald Trump is left being the crybaby that he is.
You're going to bring the bullhorn of that, I'm convinced, on that one. But let me ask you about Governor Gavin Newsom. He said he's going to consider doing something similar in California if Texas goes ahead with redistricting plans. So, I mean, look, if Republicans are doing it, should Democrats redraw districts to their favor too? And if not, why not?
No, I'm all in, Alex. Listen, you know, we are in a crisis in this country, and I've got to tell you that Democrats have consistently held the moral high ground for good reason, regardless of the fact that one party wants to pretend that they are Christians or super Christians. The reality is that don't tell me what you are, show me what you are in your policies and what you do. And I can tell you that Democrats have consistently fought for equity in all ways, even in representation. And so that's why we do have so many states that have decided that they would have these redistricting commissions that are nonpartisan, and they try to be fair. But the reality is that we aren't playing with people that believe in abiding by the rules or the law or the Constitution. We've got people that are going into the mud, and it is time for us to fight back.
Now, we've talked a pretty good deal about this redistricting effort. And the important update that I have to share is that Gavin Newsom is going full speed ahead, and we're actually maybe hoping to talk to him one-on-one about that soon, so please do stick around for that. But they're going right ahead in California. In New York, not as much, which I'm incredibly disappointed by. It's kind of embarrassing for the Democratic Party to be at this point of Donald Trump's not administration, not term, but regime, and saying, well, you know, I don't know if we want to do it. That seems like a lot of work. And, you know, it's not necessarily fair. Fair? He's a fascist. Fight back. If they're going to be stealing seats for a midterm they know they're getting wiped out in, we should do the same. Because the idea isn't to steal seats in California. It's not stealing seats. The idea is not to redistrict in California than they do in Ohio. They already did, by the way, or North Carolina. They already did, by the way, or Florida. They already did, by the way. It's not just to leave an ever-churning machine of redistricting for political purposes. It's to make it so Republicans realize they can't win this battle, and to have an independent redistricting commission. And if that means we ultimately lose some seats in a given moment so that long-term we have fair elections, Democrats are on board with that. But do it now. Stop letting them just go on offense and us write a strongly worded letter. Actually fight back. And I'm glad we got Governor Gavin Newsom to do that. He's been killing it lately. And we're going to continue to highlight that all, and of course cover this story. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.